Welcome to another episode of Sports and Discourse with your host, Derek Stevenson. And we got to talk about Juwan Howard. So, this Juwan Howard situation is pretty interesting to me. And for those of you that may not be aware, Juwan Howard is the coach of the Michigan Wolverines basketball team. And they were in the game against Wisconsin. And Juwan Howard was upset with the sportsmanship that the Wisconsin coach was showing at the end of the game. And from the looks of it, it looks like after the game was over, Juwan Howard was not really interested in walking through the line where they shake hands. You know, everybody gives each other a courtesy. And it seemed like he was going to set that one out, right? Which now, looking at the situation, probably would have been the best scenario for everybody if he would have actually set it out. And he probably would have still been criticized, but at the end of the day, the unfortunate situation, which was an altercation that ensued after that, probably would have been avoided. And when I looked at the replay of it, I felt like both of the coaches were a little bit upset with each other. I don't know if there's any history there or any hard feelings towards each other before this happened, but it looked like, Juwan Howard was at the end of the line and he was just going to, breeze through and do a couple handshakes and keep it moving. And Wisconsin's basketball coach stopped him, kind of grabbed him to stop him so they could have some words. And at that point, the emotions just started boiling. And Juwan Howard was pointing his finger. And they were having, it looked like some pretty intense back and forth with each other. And then the next thing you know, people were getting pushed. Players was rushing from from their respective corners to try to protect everybody. Officials was jumping in the middle of it. And ultimately you see Juwan Howard reach over and it looked like he had an open hand, and it looked like he slapped one of Wisconsin's coaches. And, after the game, Juwan Howard, in his press conference, he basically was saying that he felt like they unnecessarily were touching him and making him uncomfortable, and he felt like he had to defend himself. And in the heat of battle, you can see and interpret things a whole lot of different ways. And he may have felt like that the coach grabbed him, with intentions of maybe trying to hit him or, do something harmful to him. And I'm sure Wisconsin's coach probably wasn't intending to try to hurt Howard, but he was definitely trying to get his attention because he definitely had, some things he wanted to say to him. And he probably didn't appreciate the fact that Howard really wasn't trying to hear it. And, but this is going to be a really extremely unfortunate situation because, number one, it's just a bad look to see coaches getting into it that bad to where, quote unquote, punches are thrown. And then you see players, in the middle starting to throw punches at each other, just trying to protect their teammates and their coaches. And it just got really out of hand. And it just was a bad look for college basketball. And I'm not gonna really try to blame anybody, but I just wish both coaches would have done a better job of, checking their emotions, right? Because a lot of the times, some of these coaches, especially when they're in the same conferences, they see each other, you know, maybe once or twice a year, and they develop intense rivalries with the other coaches, and there might even be some disdain for each other, a little bit of hatred, sort of, if you will, towards one another. And there's probably a lot of times they don't want to shake each other's hands, and they probably want to say, you know, they probably want to aggressively speak their mind to each other. But it just goes to show you, man, you just, when you're a leader of young men, you have to try to keep yourself in check as much as possible, just to be an example to the young men that you're trying to teach to become, successful, productive adult citizens, right? And it just ended up being a very bad look. You never want to see coaches behaving like that. You never want to see players have to get involved, because ultimately the kids are going to try to protect their coaches. Like, that's a pretty, that's a reaction that I would probably expect from most kids in that situation. And it's very unfortunate. I'm not sure what I think will happen to Juwan Howard, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was suspended long term, or maybe even potentially fired. You just never really know. You never really can be sure what will happen in this situation, because an example is probably going to have to be set just to show, the entire sports nation that violence won't be tolerated. You never want to see violence in a sports activity, no matter how high the emotions can run, and they do run high a lot. And you never want to see the person that you put in charge to raise these kids, so to speak, leading by that type of an example, right? You want to see coaches that are calm and collected under pressure, that always keep their composure. And like, I'll even use Rick Pitino and Coach Cal as an example, since I'm a Kentucky guy, right? When Rick Pitino was coaching Louisville, and we would play, Kentucky and Louisville would play, it's always going to be an intense rivalry. The games are usually always good, no matter what the talent level is on either team. The games are usually always good because of the rivalry. And you never really know. It wouldn't shock me to find out that them coaches really didn't care for each other. But they always kept it professional. They always met each other at half court. Usually they were, leading the line, or at the front of the line, I'll say. And they shook hands, said a couple of words, and it might have all been fake. They might hate each other, and they might talk bad about each other as soon as they walk away. But at the middle of the court, with the cameras watching, they shook hands and gave each other, the respective courtesy of, whatever congratulatory message they wanted to send to the other coach. And then they kept it pushing. You don't have to be buddy-buddy. You don't have to go out of your way to show respect, but just give a little and then keep it moving. And I really wish that's what would have happened here, because I would hate to see, Juwan Howard be made an example of, because if, in fact, he is fired, it might potentially set him back. And I know he's worked hard to become a top D1 head coach, and it could potentially be very damaging for his career. He may never get another job, or if he does, he might have to start back at the bottom and work his way up, which could take several years, or maybe he might have to try to become an assistant in the NBA. Like, it just, I would just hate to see, what he's worked for be just thrown away in an instance, because the two coaches weren't able to check their emotions. And so, we just need to look at this as an example, and let it be a lesson for everybody that, no matter what the situation is, it's just always better to try to keep yourself in a cool and calm emotional state, and handle yourself as professionally as you can. And hopefully, it'll help you to avoid situations like this. But anyways, let me know, how do you feel about this situation? Do you think Juwan Howard was in the wrong? Do you think he was right for the way he reacted? Do you believe that he's going to be suspended or possibly fired? Just give me your thoughts on it, and we'll do it again. Sports and Discourse, Derek Stevenson.